Kenny Session has 20-plus years real estate experience in the Bay Area. Kenny is the past president of the California Association of Real Estate Brokers and past president of the Associated Real Property Brokers. And now, your host, your real estate broker, Kenny Session.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming. We have been here before talking about how good Oakland tenants who have been caught up in the housing crisis when banks foreclose apartment buildings and other rental properties. In far too many cases that we are seeing, families who have never missed a rent payment and who have played by the rules and been good tenants are receiving wrongful eviction notices in clear violation of local law and any standard of common decency. Eviction notices are often accompanied by these sort of cash for keys offers that do not come close to covering normal moving costs. And most of these evictions are being done by licensed real estate professionals here in the East Bay working on behalf of some of the world's biggest banks. Despite repeated warnings and notices to the banks and their agents, they continue to violate the law and abuse good tenant families here in Oakland. We have tried to do it the nice way, and now it's time to not be nice. In recent days, my office has filed 5 lawsuits seeking injunctions to stop the banks and their local agents from evicting tenants illegally. We are naming 2 of the nation's largest banks, J.P. Morgan Chase and Fidelity National Financial, as well as their subsidiaries and a number of real estate companies and agents who do business here in Oakland. As licensed professionals in this field, these agents cannot claim ignorance of Oakland's law. Many of them have been warned by the city or by members of the community in past incidents that their behavior is illegal. But most importantly, putting aside the law, who doesn't know that throwing a family out of their home for no reason is wrong? I mean, if you have a reason, you buy a property, you want to move in, great. Law allows that. You have a property, a tenant is a problem, great. The law allows that the problem tenant can be evicted. But to throw a family out for no reason at all and in a way that violates local law, who doesn't know that that's wrong? We see these evictions as not only illegal, but as morally questionable. Unfortunately, there are real estate agents and brokers in the Bay Area who see this as an untapped market, a great business opportunity, a response to current market conditions. To reiterate, many tenants in this situation have never, ever been late on their rent. And many of these tenants had leases with their previous landlords. In some cases, the previous deadbeat landlord has disappeared with the tenant's security deposit, which makes it financially difficult, if not impossible, for a family to move, even if they wanted to. Now, here are some examples of some of the misleading notices that have been received by tenants. Chase Home Finance. This notice comes from Chase Home Financial and a real estate broker based in Hayward. As you can see, this letter came with a notice to vacate. On its face, that is a violation of the city's just cause law. Can we go to Exhibit B, please? There you go. The next notice also comes from Chase. This one says that the bank has already started the eviction process and there is nothing that the tenant can do to stop it. It might be worth pointing out that J.P. Morgan Chase got $25 billion in taxpayer bailout money in October from the Troubled Asset Relief Program. Exhibit C, please. This one is especially threatening. This one tells the tenant that if they don't call within 24 hours, they will be locked out of their home. It's also interesting that it doesn't provide the name of the new owner or any proof that the property actually went through foreclosure. Let me repeat that. It's a notice that you have to call and get out within 24 hours without giving the family even the courtesy of who is it that you're supposed to be paying your rent to. Local law says that landlords must have a just cause to evict, that they provide that cause in a written notice to tenants, and that copies of eviction notices are filed with the Oakland Rent Board within 10 days. The notices we are seeing from these major financial institutions does not meet any of those requirements. Now, we've talked to lawyers for some of these banks, and they say, well, we're relying on our local agents to follow the law. Now we hear from some of these agents that their eviction forms were provided to them by the banks. it's a finger-pointing game. Nobody's actually responsible. The reality is they're all pointing fingers at each other, but they are all responsible. And when they point fingers, it's good, again, good families who are paying their rent, who are being thrown out. The City of Oakland intends to hold all of them accountable. We intend to hold anyone who violates our just cause for eviction law and evicts a decent, hard-working family who's paying their rent. We intend to hold them all accountable, and we will file more complaints against people we catch doing this. With that, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Jane Bruner to talk about, and this is Council President, pardon me, Council President Jane Bruner, I apologize, Jane, to speak about her outreach program. She's done some fabulous work on doing outreach regarding foreclosures in the North Oakland area. It's a model that I'd love to see happen. Congratulations on it.
Good morning. I want to thank the City Attorney's Office. They've been working very closely with us, and John Russo for putting forward going after some of the banks and the big landlords. It's about a month ago, my office with our service delivery team, the police officers, Public Works, went to 238 homes in North Oakland. These are homes that either had a foreclosure or their rate was going to be adjusted in the next 3 months, so they had the possibility of going into foreclosure. We knocked on every door, and we went to both homeowners and renters. The homeowners, we gave them information about Unity Council, who is giving counseling to people about how to not lose their home, because the best thing we can do for foreclosure right now is prevent someone from being kicked out of their home than actually after the fact. The renters were people who, some of them knew that their house was a possibility of foreclosure and some of them they didn't. And we gave them information, and the critical information is renters do not need to leave their home. There's only a couple of reasons that renters need to leave. One is they don't pay rent, and two, if a new owner who buys it is going to move into the home. That was not true for most of the renters. People were delighted that we knocked on their door. They were delighted that we gave them information. We told renters to do a few things. One is to keep paying your rent to your landlord. If your landlord says, no, we don't want it, I don't want it, then we told them to pay to the bank. If the bank will not return your call, which most of the renters told us, the banks did not return their calls. We then tell them if they won't take the rent, then put it in escrow. But do not believe you need to leave. There is, some people are being bought out for cash. They believe, some people we met thought they had to leave and they had to take the cash. So the information is just critical to get out there. So renters, who are majority in this city, are renters, and a lot of them are in properties that are having adjustable rates. It's really critical that they know their rights, and it was very exciting. We're doing it again next month because of the data changes every 3 months. Nancy Nadell is going to do it in West Oakland, and I think it is something that's going to happen throughout the city. So it's just important that homeowners get help as soon as possible, and that renters know their rights, that they can stay in their home. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to bring up Jesse Newmark from Centro Legal de la Raza to address this eviction problem.
I just wanted to say that, first off, how glad I am to live in a city like Oakland that has a just cause ordinance that protects tenants who, through no fault of their own, wind up in these situations, as Mr. Russo was explaining. Under just cause, of course, you can be evicted still if you don't pay the rent or if an owner wants to move in good faith. But that's not what we're seeing in these foreclosure cases. And I can tell you firsthand that we see housing tenants from throughout the Bay Area, and how sad and frustrating it is when we see tenants from outside of Oakland, when we have to explain to them that there isn't much or as much we can do in a foreclosure situation to protect them from having to leave. And how great it is when we have Oakland tenants to be able to tell them that the law protects them and that they're not going to end up having to move out, at least on short notice. And secondly, I think, as all lawyers know and most people here know, a law is only good as its enforcement. And that's why we definitely want to thank John Russo's office and Jane Bruner and the other council members who are taking steps to enforce the Just Cause Ordinance. Because I can tell you, when we started this about a year ago, I would say almost every notice we saw from the banks and the foreclosing entities said nothing more than get out, and that was it. And that since the city attorney's office has taken steps, and of course all the work done by East Bay Community Law Center, ourselves, the other tenants' rights legal service organizations, we can help people one at a time and represent them and successfully represent them because of Oakland's Just Cause ordinance. But we know that for every one tenant that makes it into us, there's going to be dozens who don't. And that's why it's so important that preventative things and measures be taken to enforce the ordinance outside of those individual cases, to make sure those tenants who would otherwise have just been scared and felt like they have to leave their homes instead get the correct information from the banks in the first place, that they are protected by just cause and they do have rights. And since the city attorney's office has started taking steps, I can tell you we've already seen improvement, but there's a huge ways to go. Most of the notices still, even if there's some effort made to comply with just cause, are still very threatening. As you can see, many of them still don't make any effort to comply with just cause. And also, I think, as you're going to hear from a specific tenant this morning, and I think as Jane Bruner explained too, we still see lots of situations where the banks won't get in contact with the tenants. They'll get in contact and say, we want to work something out, and then they'll disappear for a few months. Tenants won't know where to send rent to. If they do send rent in, the bank claims they didn't receive it, and all sorts of measures to effectively try to force tenants out. So there's still a long way to go. I'm sure these new actions will, as earlier actions have, make a considerable impact, and I believe really make an impact in the lives of the hundreds, if not thousands, of foreclosed tenants we see who otherwise would think that they'd had to leave and are not protected by just cause.
We now are going to hear a personal story from someone who was evicted in this illegal fashion. I'd like to bring forward Mr. DeMarco Dokes.
The situation is this. I have a household of 6. One of my children is a disabled individual. So finding a sufficient location for my child is pretty much hard, as you can imagine. First and foremost, I'd like to just say thank you to the City of Oakland for assisting us in this process of standing behind us and the other tenants out there that may be struggling with this situation. I was offered $2,500 and 2 weeks to vacate my premises. Obviously, with the child that's in need of medical attention, that's not suffice. I made contact with the individual that represented this mortgage company who basically extended that 2 weeks into 3 weeks. Following that, I had heard nothing. I then submitted a letter of negotiation to cost to move. And so I have yet to hear any response. And this has taken approximately 2 months to hear anything from the bank, representative of the bank, or a representative from the mortgage company. I just hope that this situation will enlighten other citizens of Oakland that they have help, and if they take the step to seek that help, that it is available. Thank you.
I want to thank a couple of the neighborhood law court attorneys who are here, David Hall, Sheena Wadawan, Amber Macaulay, who are all here, work on these issues. I want to thank Acorn for showing their support and working on behalf of tenants in Oakland. Copies of complaints and eviction notices are posted on our website, so they are there to review. Now, I'm going to take some questions. As you can see, we have been joined by some folks who are unhappy that we are bringing this lawsuit, and although it would have been, I think, more appropriate from a protocol perspective to have let us know, because I would have been happy to let you have the podium, I am going to let you, pardon me, let me finish. Let me finish.
Before you sue me.
Let me finish. I'm going to let you have the podium after the...
I'm sorry.
I'm going to let you have the podium for a couple of minutes after we answer questions. And then if you want to discuss your case, we're not going to discuss your case and the details of your case publicly. Good. Very good. Very well. That's great. And in the meantime, hold on a second, Henry. In the meantime, as you can see, we've allowed you to come up with a lot of very
I own City Hall, so you can't allow me to come in, sir. This is a public facility, sir.
Okay.
Did you forget?
I'm not going to have an argument with you about this. This is our press conference. I'm going to grant you a couple of minutes at the podium. This is not your podium today. I'm sorry. So with that, I'll take questions. Yeah, Jeff.
So what are you seeking in the lawsuits that are filed? What remedy are you seeking?
We're seeking. There are various penalties that are called out in the just cause for eviction law, and we're seeking restitution to the tenants. We usually seek, in most of the cases, We will seek moving expenses for the families that have already been forced to move. In those cases in which they're hanging in there, we'll ask for that in advance. There are a number of penalties in just cause for eviction, and I would just refer you to that law to take a look at it. But it's mostly cash, and we're trying usually to get it in on behalf of the people who are being wrongfully evicted. The people of Oakland voted in the just cause for eviction law and specifically authorized the city attorney's office to bring actions on behalf of tenants who are wrongfully evicted. Yeah, Henry.
Is Oakland unique in this kind of civil action, or other entities or cities doing this elsewhere?
Well, other cities are doing some imaginative things, but Oakland is relatively unique in that our people have granted the specific authority to. Other cities have just cause for eviction laws. Not all of them authorize the city attorney to bring those actions. Okay? And not many cities have just cause for eviction laws. There aren't that many to begin with, and of those, very few of them authorize their top
I'm
municipal
sorry,
attorney.
just to clarify, any other cities have taken this kind of, filed these kind of suits?
Well, this is being brought specifically under Oakland's law, so I think the answer is no. Yes. Hi.
Hi, have you seen an acceleration of tenants being forced to move, as you say, illegally, even with the laws on the books?
We actually have seen an acceleration as more and more of the foreclosures are happening, and as more and more of the adjustable rates that some people bought properties with, rental properties also, are resetting, and they're walking from the properties. The banks are taking the properties back, and like I said, we've sent notices to all the banks saying these are the rules in Oakland, just in case you didn't know. Now, of course, they're charged with knowledge of the law anyway once they're here. But we did send such a letter out about a year ago. And we also invited the banks in to talk with us so we could go over the just cause for eviction law because it is somewhat unique. We still are seeing an acceleration in the problem. But we are seeing better notices. Some brokers, as they get the word, we talk with them about, look, you can't do this notice this way. They get better with it. Sometimes it becomes more of a problem. Yeah, Steve, you're not a member of the press yet. Hi there.
How much are they offering some of these tenants?
Sometimes it's as little as $500 cash for keys. And we don't think that's enough. Yes, Kelly.
How many tenants have been affected in the properties that are in the lawsuits you filed? And do you anticipate filing more lawsuits?
Let me check on that. Let me have either Sheena or Amber or David give you that answer offline, or they can give it to me now. How many tenants do we have in these cases? How many tenants?
Maybe like 10, 20, just in these cases?
Just in these cases
Yeah.
that we're filing today?
Yeah.
That we know of.
Okay. 10 to 20.
Do you anticipate more legal action?
I hope not. I mean, our feeling has been that we do these actions and we publicize these actions because we don't want this problem to happen in the first place. It's very cold comfort for a family to be moved out of their home to get their moving expenses later, maybe. That's not a substitute for being able to stay in your home when you're being a good rent-paying tenant. We'd rather it not happen at all. We'd rather people be doing these things the right way.
The appellate court sided with the city on a legal attempt to overturn the just cause ordinance?
Recently, there was an attempt by a certain group of landlords, not by Rental Housing Association, by a certain group to overturn the city's just cause for eviction law. Again, that was passed by the voters, but the appellate court upheld the law.
Can you talk a little bit about how important that was, given the environment we're in?
I don't think anyone really thought, I think when the just cause for eviction law was passed, I think people were thinking about the traditional landlord-tenant relationship. I don't think anyone anticipated this foreclosure issue. And I think people think about foreclosure issues in terms of single-family homeowners. I don't think there was a lot of thought. I certainly didn't think about that that something like the just cause for eviction law might have impact if there was a mass meltdown of the home mortgage market, that would also impact rental housing in this way. So I didn't really think about it. I don't think many people did.
How long has it been in place?
The law's been in place, I think, since 2002. So 2 or 04. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure I understand what the tipping point was for actually filing a suit. What happened to trigger it? Was there a specific incident or something?
These were based upon the notices that were filed, and that the notices were inappropriate under the law.
But is there some sort of timing issue, or it just seemed like this was a good point.
Oh, to file these particular cases? Well, I think it was just a question of, we're starting to see an uptick in this problem, like I said, and these were very, to our lawyers at least, and I'm sure the gentleman behind me will dispute this, but to the point, to our lawyers, these notices are defective. We have brought these cases before. We brought a case about a year ago, and that took care of it. That took care of the problem, and understanding that that was just in violation of the law, and we were able very, quickly to get that thing resolved, and we did get it resolved, and we intend to get these resolved if we can as well.
Yeah, and just to clarify, what,
Yeah, Jeff.
what the apparent motive of the banks and the agent is it to get the current tenants out and bring in new tenants at a higher rent, or?
No, I'm not going to surmise or try to speculate as to their motives, but it's just generally done that when you take over, if a bank takes over a foreclosed property, they like to try to sell it vacant. It's easier to sell vacant than with a tenant in it. I don't think it necessarily starts as some type of a conspiracy to mess with tenants. I just think that's the way it gets done, and they can become pretty aggressive. They're having their issues as well. The question is, what does the law say? And the law says that the tenants are allowed to be there as long as they're paying their rent, regardless of foreclosure. And I know some people want to dispute that, but I think the law is pretty clear on that. Okay, so with that, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to ask you to please, since you didn't let me know, but that's okay, I'm going to let you tell your story here for a couple of minutes, and then we can talk later on.
That's mighty nice of you, John. First of all, I'd like to thank you for scheduling our press conference, okay? Ladies and gentlemen of media, my name is Kenny Session. I've been named in this lawsuit by John Russo. Today is a sad day in Oakland for me. I've lived in Oakland for 27 years, and I've never been insulted as I have today. I've worked hard to build a business in this community, in Jane Bruner's district. And I actually own the largest African-American real estate company in Northern California.
So stop breaking the law.
And it resides right here in Oakland.
Could you come up? Because I'm going to let you rebut it.
I've built a business in this community for my family. I've built a business in this community that my community can be proud of. I have in turn been a truthful broker. I have told the truth at every stage of my career. I've been in real estate in Oakland for over 20 years. I've been investing and building this community not only to help my family, but with also real estate agents in the city. Many of the people that you see behind me are people that I mentor in the business. Some of these people that are here are people that you'll find out on High Street that used to be out there, that now we have been out working with them to turn their lives around so that we can make a difference in this community in terms of people having jobs. I provide jobs for most of the people that you see here. Many of you, I have been named personally, as well as Session Real Estate, in this lawsuit filed by John Russo. John did not investigate his facts. John did not investigate his facts. I believe there's several reasons for this lawsuit, and I heard the gentleman ask, why is it happening right now? I'm not going to talk very much about the case because I want you to watch very closely, because we are going to go to court, and I don't want to talk to him now. I want to talk to him in front of the courts, in front of you. When all the evidence comes out to show what I've done, you will find I have, for many years, hosted and provided real estate information to this community on my weekly real estate TV show on Channel 78. I have made myself available live TV, where anybody at any time could call me and say anything you wanted to say about me. Or you could ask a pertinent real estate question and get that answer right over the air, which many of you guys have seen, and you know that I do it very well. I know the real estate laws in this city, in the state of California, as well or better than anyone. I know the just cause eviction law. I know it very well. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I had Jackie Campbell from the City of Oakland's Economic and Community Development Department on my show. Not only did we talk about purchasing homes in the City of Oakland and using the City of Oakland's down payment assistance programs, we also talked about evictions. I have copies of the DVD with me. If any of the media would like to check this fact, we talked specifically about tenants in Oakland and how to handle them and what needs to happen. We also talked about homeowners that have lost their houses and what are the services that are available. You can also see a show that I did with Mr. Ray Carlisle that will show you that we talked about what is happening on with the stimulus package and how is that going to affect Oakland and what is that going to do for real estate in Oakland. You can also watch my show and you would have seen me talk about loss mitigation and those people that are having problems getting out of their mortgages, who to call, how to contact them, who their phone numbers were. If you watch my show, you will see that I am an advocate for this city. I am a community person. I am not what this man is trying to make me out to be. And if he had done, and if he would call me, they say they went all over all over North Oakland trying to find someone to talk to. You can see me any day at 19th and Market. And any of you got a real estate question, please feel free to stop by my office, and I'll share that with you. I have never violated the City of Oakland's just cause evictions. Never. In fact, I use that as a tool to help people. Tenants. If there is a tenant in this room or that can call me to say that I gave you anything like what he put up there, I'll eat it right now. He didn't put mine up there because I don't force people out of houses. And in fact, to prove that point, and I'm not going to go much farther because it'll all come out when we go to court. And yes, I'm mad. I'm sorry that we had to do this way. But I wanted to make a clear point that I believe there's about 8 reasons for this. John Russo has chosen politics over the truth. Had he wanted the truth, he could have came to 1900 Market, or I would have been more than happy to come to his office and sit down and share with him the truth. I never was contacted for that. John Russo is not a man of integrity, because if he says he contacted me to work on helping you, I would have been there to help. I am in this community to help, not hurt people, and it hurts my feelings. Okay, it hurts my feelings. You don't know me to judge me, and if you want to judge me, come spend a day with me and go to these people's house, like Junius right here, who was getting put out of his house. That the property foreclosed. Junius, you want to come over here and share with them what I told you when I came to your house to share with you that the house had foreclosed? Could you please share that?
He came in, excuse me, my name is Junius Lockett. He came in as a representative of the bank, and he told me that the house had been foreclosed. I didn't know about this, so it was caught me by surprise. I really didn't know what to do, so he told me, he said, now you don't have to move as long as you've paid your rent and continue paying your rent. Only problem I had with that is that if they wasn't going to have the property no more, I felt like I was going to be giving my money away. He didn't even take, I asked him, I said, well, do you have somewhere for me to rent another place? If I have to leave this one, where can I go? Because I have a son, 12 years old, that I am a single parent to. And he said, well, look, you don't have to be outside. I have some apartments. You can move in one of them if you choose to. I looked at him. It was a larger unit for about the same money that I was spending already. Me and my son have been there. He didn't take a penny from me. In fact, he let me in the place a month or a month and a half without giving him rent. I did what the lady suggested earlier. I put it in escrow. I had it for him. But what I'm getting at is that he didn't try to force me. He gave me an opportunity to have somewhere to take my family. And I appreciate it. I was recently stricken down with a heart attack and couldn't work. He hasn't strained me for the rent that I owe. Although I've been blessed to have it. But I just want to say that this man here has been helpful to me in the rental. He's not been a hinder, he's been a help.
You know, all I want to say to the media is, if you really want to know who I am, turn on the airs on Saturday morning, channel 78 at 10 o'clock. I help banks sell foreclose because it's a sign of the time and it's a good business opportunity. But I care about people, okay? I've got many stories like that right here with me today. I'm not going to take up your time with that. But if necessary, in the right place, in the right time, you'll get to see a stream of people that will talk to you about the integrity that I know that I work for every day. Not only do I work for, but I insist that the people who work with me, and we have a very large staff, I employ a lot of people here. I pay city taxes. In fact, I think I just sent the city $3,000 a couple days ago for my city taxes. So I pay my taxes. You know, I provide services. I pay for the airtime that I bring. I don't have to do that. In fact, what was asked me, Kenny, why do you do this? Why do you come on? You don't have to do that. You can just say, I'm selling a lot of houses. I don't need no TV show. Well, in these economic times, you'll find if you go and Google Session Real Estate, you'll find where Mayor Dellum's he came in and Mayor Dellum's, I'm looking for the right word, he endorsed my TV show because at the time we came back, this economic crisis is hurting everyone. It's hurting me. It's hurting my family. These people who work for me, many of them are losing their houses too. Many of us have mortgages that are behind as well. So with that, and I'm going to close because I do have several people that want to talk. I'm going to tell you, do the investigation on me, okay? I have DVDs. We bought a limited amount and cards to remind you where you can watch. Watch this. This is a small issue for him, but I'm going to make sure that everybody here knows. And if Just Cause becomes the thing that helps this community in the end, I hope that it gets a lot of light on it because it allows me to help people like Juniors stay in their properties if they want to. So with that being said, I'm going to thank you guys. And again, look it up under Session Real Estate and you will find I help more tenants than I will ever hurt. You will never find one that I've hurt. Thank you.
Okay, so in the interest of democracy and full discussion, we've given the gentleman a lot of time. We'll find out in court what the answer is. So stay tuned. In the meantime, however, you should know that the tenants upon whom we have brought this case, on whose behalf, are here. So for those of you in the media who want to hear their side of the story, I would welcome that you do that. And we'll help you. And we'll help you. No, they're intimidated because they don't want to stand in front of a bunch of signs that call people character assassins.
You are assassinating
so,
my character.
you know, that's fine, Mr. Sessions. I've given you plenty of time. I think I've given you more time than most people in my position would have done under circumstances.
You didn't give it, so
No. Okay. Well, that's all right. Good. Thank you.